Hey there everyone, it's GM Guru and welcome back to a brand new indie game devlog. Hope you guys have had an absolutely amazing Christmas period and over the new year. In this week's devlog I've actually got some really cool stuff to show you. I've been working on it for around the past 2 weeks because if you noticed I didn't actually upload a video last week because I was just taking some time off to celebrate the holidays and the new year. But in this week's devlog I'm going to show you all the progress that I've been doing behind the scenes for the past 2 weeks on my game. Now the first thing I'm going to show you is actually in the new testing area for my game, which is kind of going to be what I'm going to use for the demo, I think, when I actually release it to you guys. But the first thing I want to show you is that I actually put in a smooth camera into the game, so it's just making the game look a lot more polished with the actual gliding of the camera following the player instead of the hard stuck camera, which kind of looks a little bit unrealistic. So this is going to add a nicer feel to the game and a bit more easy on the eyes for you guys. Now one of the other things that you can observe straight away in the kind of demo level is that there's actually a signpost with a letter stamped to it. So if we go over to the signpost and we actually press E, I know it says right click underneath, but we actually have to press E to interact with it. It says hello and welcome to my game. And if you notice as well that if I kind of move further away from it and try and just press E, the camera moves into actually focused on the text, so it kind of draws the player's attention towards what they actually have to be reading instead of focusing on the player. And if you press E again, it actually then zooms out and goes back to the player. Now this is just a little thing. I'm probably going to use the same kind of method for NPCs where you're kind of going through a dialogue. So it's actually going to zoom in on the NPC and all their dialogue is going to go and scroll through. So it's kind of easier just for you to pay attention to what's actually going on instead of just running around and then accidentally running past NPC and not getting any of the dialogue. Another thing to do with it is that it actually locks you in. So while it's typing, you can't press anything on the keyboard to move away from the sign, just so basically, you know, if you're committing to the dialogue, you're going to have to read it and you just press E again to leave and go back to what you're doing. But I'm sure you've also noticed that in the first level that the kind of text on the ground underneath everything in the kind of example level slowly fades in and fades out while you're going from it. I think this is actually a really nice effect because I might use it for a couple of things in the game, but right now I'm just using it to basically explain what everything is for the player, just because you guys, you know, if it's not just you guys that are playing the game, it's going to make it a little bit simpler for new people that are coming in and testing it out to understand what is actually going on. Now something else really cool that I have to show you in the first kind of starting area of the level is if we actually move all the way along to the end of the level, you will see the portal that I showed you guys in the first or kind of second episode of the devlog. And now if we press E on it, it actually takes us to a new area. And if you see that transition that it's using, I actually got that off of Sean Spalding, who is a really big game maker, studio creator, and he has a lot of great tutorials if you guys want to go and check him out, because I've never actually really approached doing my own kind of transitions in Game Maker, so I actually had no idea what I was doing. But thanks to this tutorial I've now managed to get this in the game, and it's actually making it look a lot better than if I was just to go into the portal, press E, and you suddenly teleported into the next area. I am maybe going to explore it a little bit more and see if I can do maybe a fading transition, because I did actually have that in my old game where if you went through a room you actually faded out and then faded into the new room, which actually looked pretty cool as well. So I might actually look into researching that again and get it back into the game. Now that we are into the second level, we have another sign that says try some of my game's weapons, and obviously we have the AK, the MP5, the Thompson, the shotgun, and the M1 Garand, and now we have the knife, which is the newest weapon in the game. I did say in the previous episode of the devlog that I was actually going to look at maybe adding in melee weapons into the game, and I did spend a little bit of time over the last week spraying a knife, and as you can see, if I pick up the knife and I press left click, it actually just stabs in the direction that you are attacking. Now the red hitbox is just a placeholder for now. I'm just trying to work out where I actually want to create the hitbox for the player to be able to actually contact with an enemy if they're stabbing it. So I will actually make that invisible when I've actually decided how much damage the knife's going to do and stuff like that. It does actually attack pretty fast right now, but I figured out that if I had it on a really slow image speed, it looked a little bit, I don't know, it just didn't look very good, and the hitbox would create somewhere else if you spin the knife around really fast. So for now this is going to do, but let me know what you guys think of the knife and if you think I should actually add in more melee weapons into the game in the future. So I am actually going to show you guys how I actually made the knife sprite and the animation for the knife sprite. So now we are in A sprite, and as you can see on the first frame there's just a knife, but as we move along the frames you can see that there's a shadow kind of being created behind the knife, and there's actually 4 layers of shadow. So basically it's just taking the opacity of the knife and then taking away 1/4 of the opacity and then moving it 2 pixels behind, so it starts to add a kind of little shadow effect that looks like there is a knife trailing as if it is actually a really fast motion. Now in my opinion, this is just like, it's a really kind of small niche thing to have, but I think that it just makes it look a little bit nicer instead of just having a knife just flailing around. It actually has a kind of almost shader to it, but it's not really a shader, but you can understand what I mean. So yeah, that's how I actually did the knife animation in Sprite. Another thing that I actually have to show you in the game is that I now actually have controller support implemented into the game. I know it's actually been a while since I've actually started the project, and I probably should have actually added it in at the start to make it a lot easier, but I actually spent the last 2 days implementing the controller support. So now the controller is fully functional and works exactly the same as the keyboard and mouse. Now how I actually have this set up is that you can actually just use the keyboard and mouse, or if you want to use the controller, you can literally just pick up the controller and start using it, and it will automatically swap from the controller to the keyboard and from the keyboard to the controller. I don't think I'm actually going to have it where you have to go into a separate settings menu to actually tick a box or activate it, where you're actually letting the game know that you're using controller or letting the game know that you're mouse. The game is always just going to be checking if you're either putting in controller outputs or if you're either putting in mouse and keyboard outputs, and it will change the game to work around that. So I'm now actually going to show you in the starting area me using the controller. So as you can see, we're actually going to go over to the AK, and we actually press X on the controller to pick up the AK, and you use the right the right analog stick to aim around and shoot, and the left analog stick to go left and right, and you press A to jump. But now the difference between the keyboard and the controller is that with the left analog stick you can actually move a little bit slower than if you're actually pressing A and D, because with the A and D it just locks to a certain speed, but that's because of the dead zone that you actually have on the analog sticks on controllers. So I think that I might actually change it just to where you're either locking in a left or right speed, because I don't think that I should actually make it where you can change the speeds, whether if you're playing on console or if you're playing on controller, or if you're actually playing on keyboard and mouse, because that might actually pose an unfair advantage at some point in the game. I don't know if it will, but there might be something in the future that you actually get an advantage from being able to walk slower than actually being able to walk at a set speed. Now if we move over to the sign as well, you just press X and it actually activates the sign as well, and then you press X again to exit the sign. So it's exactly the same as the keyboard and mouse. I've set up everything exactly the same. So basically it has, like in Game Maker, how you do it is you put the 2 slashes, which are like the vertical slashes, and then you can put in another input. So if you have keyboard checked, press ORD E, you can then put the 2 slashes, and then you could do gamepad button checked pressed, and then GP face 3 is, I think, is the actual X, or GP face 1 is the A. So it's really easy how Game Maker have it set up, so you can actually put in controller configuration. So yeah, having all that in the game is going to be super useful. So if you guys actually want to play with a controller, feel free to do that when I release the demo. Now there is one bug that I've encountered where if you actually sometimes load up the game, the controller doesn't actually work straight away. But the way that I found out how to fix this is to literally just unplug the controller and plug it back in on the actual controller. Don't replug the USB in, replug in the actual thing connecting into the controller, and then it should work straight away for you guys. But yeah, I think that's a really cool thing to have in the game now, to add in those options for people that actually like to play with controllers instead of people that actually play with keyboard and mouse. But let me know what you guys think when you actually get the demo in your hands. Now that is pretty much everything that I've actually been able to do in the past 2 weeks. It's obviously been a little bit quieter because of the whole holiday season and New Year, but I'm hoping by next week that I'm actually going to be able to have some new art assets in the game. I am going to be starting to work on a little bit more art, but I'm actually outsourcing and hopefully being able to get a couple more people to help work on the game so I can actually improve the art assets in the game. As for things that I actually want to work on, I'm actually unsure what I want to work on for now, but maybe adding in a little bit more of a kind of platformer style into the game, where there's more platforms to jump on, and actually making the enemies roam from left to right, kind of AI style, and actually attack the player would be something else that'd be really cool to get in the game for the next devlog. But as for now, I'm actually just going to work on the game at my own pace. I'm not going to rush anything, because of course if you rush stuff in game development, it ends up being absolutely horrible and a disastrous mess. But for now, I think I have some solid updates coming for the game, so I hope you guys are enjoying everything that's happening in the game and you are following along. And as always, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to go and drop a like down below. And if you have any comments or thoughts on today's video, make sure to go and drop those down in the comments section as well. And if you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe to see my devlogs, which should be weekly, and I am actually going to maybe work on getting some new types of videos out. And of course, if you want to keep more regularly up to date, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, or go ahead and check out my Discord down in the description. There's some pretty cool people over there. And if you want to go the extra mile, make sure to go check out my Patreon to support the game development. All the money on the Patreon goes towards helping on the game and hopefully getting some more art into it. But without further ado, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.